I need to set a few ground rules, especially for you who are here for the first time. First thing I wanted to say to you is that one of the things that makes our community unique is that we don't believe in God. Let me say more about that. Since I was met with this pregnant silence, how does the rabbi standing in front of everybody says they don't believe in God here? What kind of a place is this? I wonder sometimes myself. The God you don't believe in doesn't exist. The God that you imagine, however you imagine that, is only a figment of your imagination. You made it up. You made it up because maybe somebody told you God was supposed to be this way or that way. Maybe you inherited a baggage from generations prior that taught us, all of us, to understand God or to see God, to feel God as basically Santa Claus dressed in white, sitting on a cloud up there, judging and manipulating creation, and doing a very poor job at it, to say the least. Whatever you imagine God to be doesn't exist. It is a figment of your imagination. It is a projection of your ego. We, Bet Alef, are a Jewish community that prides itself in connecting with the deeper spiritual concepts and meanings and practices that are built from and anchored in what's called Kabbalah. But Kabbalah it's a big word that simply take into account all the different Jewish mystical paths. What I mean by mystical is that we have a slew of teachers that have been teaching through generations for close to, or at least 2,500 years, who were deeply enlightened masters. They had experiences of the divine that transcended any thoughts, any imagination, any concept. Direct and intimate connection that obliterated their sense of separate self, where they realized, in fact, that which transcends all that is, that which exists prior to or beyond anything, space and time, is also and at the same time that which is everything. That which manifests itself, herself, himself, themselves as everything. The nothingness of being prior to space and time is the everythingness of creation. And that is a direct experience that those masters had. In order to express that, they actually had to imagine different words to point to different entities. The part that is the transcendent, nothingness aspect of the divine, and the aspect that is the everythingness of the divine. One, they gave an acronym because they couldn't name it, because anything you name isn't it. Anything you name exists in this realm of consciousness, and they were talking about something that exists prior to this realm of consciousness. So they only gave it an acronym, 4 letters, Yud, He, Vav, He, sometimes written YHVH in English, which really means nothing. It's a jumble of letters that are all connected to the verb to be. And so in a lot of ways, the way they understood the divine was that nothingness that expresses as a verb. God is not a noun. God is a verb. And God is Godding as everything and everyone, everywhere and every when. And they really meant that. because their experience taught them that they themselves were an expression of that oneness. There are different ways of trying to explain this. One of the ones that is most famous, maybe you've encountered in one of the books you sometimes read, is the image of the ocean. Here's this vast ocean in a planet that is only ocean. There's nothing else, just ocean. It's an infinity of ocean and ocean-ing. And that ocean expresses as waves. And we and everything that exists are waves on the ocean. You and me, the pews you are sitting on, everything is the wave emerging from the ocean. And all of us are following our unique wavelength. All of us are traveling together with the ocean. But as you know, a wave, though you may think of itself as separate from the other wave that it sees in the distance or near, from the perspective of the waves, there are millions of other waves on the ocean, and each of the wave is separate. But from the perspective of the ocean, each wave is the ocean. None of the waves are separate from the ocean. None of the waves are other than the ocean. You and me are waves on the ocean that have mistakenly identified ourselves with our waveness and think that our waveness is all there is of us. And so we're very afraid because at the end of the life of the wave, we don't know is the wave going to poof out of existence? Is there nothing after the wave eventually crashes? But the masters will tell you, you already are the ocean. So when a wave is done waving, it'll merge back with the ocean it's always been a part of, because it never was separate from that ocean. That is the key teaching from the mystical Jewish tradition that we here at Bet Alef embrace. So you'll see in our prayer book that because of certain convention, we try to, though we mix it up, have to use some words and names to point to that which is unnameable. So we use for that which transcends everything, for the ocean, we call that the eternal, the infinite. And for the particular of the ocean, we use Elohim, we use God sometimes, we use different words. But again, words are only pointers to a reality that transcends them. And this reality is a reality made of verbs. There are no nouns. None of that which is exists as a noun separate from another noun. We are all verbs. I am not Olivier as a noun. I am Olivier-ing. Right now, I am Olivier-ing. Because the Olivier-ing you would have met 10 years ago is very different than the Olivier-ing that is Olivier-ing right now. In fact, the Olivier-ing that was Olivier-ing just 10 minutes ago is very different than the Olivier-ing that is Olivier-ing right now. And every moment, that is Olivier-ing farther and farther. We're not static. There is nowhere we can stop and say, I am that, and I will always be that. There's nothing that's static. I look very different than what I looked at 14. So who is the true me? The me right now or the me at 14? Or the me at 24? Or which one is it? That means that you are the expression of the divine. Through and through. There is not a part of you that is not God-ing. You are sacred. You are holy. You are absolutely perfect exactly as you are. in the way you are Linda-ing, Richard-ing, Emily-ing, or whatever your name is. Because you are evolving. And you are exactly and beautifully and perfectly as you are right now. You are sacred. You are a child of oneness. And our job here at Bet Alef is to help each other remember that. That's why we keep coming here, because when we hear and I say a few words this way, we go, oh yeah, it's true, I remember. Sometimes I do workshops to help a little more, because we are people who remember and then forget. Remember and then forget. Remember and then forget. We get busy with the drama of the ego stuff. So we come on Shabbat, we come on this day, and we stand still, and we remember together. We whisper in each other's ear, you are holy. You are the oneness of being, expressing as this incredible body, mind, and heart that is your heart. Rejoice. So in a moment, I'm going to invite you to rise. We're going to say together the Baruch Hu. The Baruch Hu is a prayer when we stand and then we bow. And together we will turn and bow towards the ark where our Torah is waiting for us to be discovered. We don't bow to the Torah because the Torah is just as much a wave as we are. We bow because the ego needs reminders. We bow because the ego needs to remember that it's not in charge. The ego needs to break free from this control freak thing it has. This addiction of wanting to control our life, other people's lives, the universe. This addiction to playing God, really, if you think about it. So we bow to, for a moment, put our head below the heart and to step into this practice of humbling ourselves in the presence of oneness that is within. So know that all the blessings and the prayers are addressed to you. They are there to remind you of the true nature of your being. I'm improvising. Life is improv. Did you know that? Life is improv. You know how the rules of improv, how do they go? Do you know? There's one rule in improv, is that whatever happened, you have to say yes and. Do you know that? Yes and. Life is improv. How many of us go through life, when life gives us, we go, no. How's that with the flow? Being in the flow of life? No. Or we go, yes, but. Can you imagine on the stage of an improv theater and the one person goes into this, beautiful blah, 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 It's really hot in here. It's really hot in here. No. Okay, well, what do we do with that? No, you go, yes, and I should not have set the house on fire. Something like that. You make it up. But that's not how we go through life, is it? Can we go through life saying yes and? Think about it. What would your life be like if you met life like improv? Because really life is improv. We want to think of ourselves as, we've planned everything. The thing, people plan and God laughs. right? We really want to, we plan for, we're sure we are in charge of it all. This is one of the 12 steps as we realize life has become unmanageable. Something like that. Am I doing it? Okay, close enough. Close enough. We realized that life had become unmanageable. The truth is, life has always been unmanageable. Life is unmanageable. Can you let go of trying to manage life? Can you stop saying yes, but? I mean me. Everything I share on any given time is the thing that I need to hear. So just so you know that. It's not like, I'm up here and you down there and I know what I'm talking about. I don't know what I'm talking about. I didn't know I was going to say this until like this moment. So, but I read an article somewhere this week and it just stayed with me, this yes and. It's like, I should use that for the high holidays. Damn it. Too late. Now I used it already, so I can't use it again. You know what? You'll forget. By September 30th, you'll have completely forgotten. I'll say it again. Good. You are holy. Did you hear your no? Did you hear the no inside? Did you hear the no? Because, the ego is telling us about all the things that are wrong with us all the time. So when this crazy guy says you are holy or you are the manifestation of God, you are the wave of the ocean, we go, okay, this is insane. Look how flawed I am. Look how bad a person I am. I made so-and-so cry the other day. I yelled at the other day. I'll do all these horrible things. I'm never on time. I'm always behind. My house is a mess. My car needs vacuuming. And my kids aren't dressed in time. They're missing socks. And you telling me I'm holy? Are you kidding? You're not perfect. That doesn't mean you're not holy. And perfection is a really terrible word in the American English language. And I love the Hebrew better. The Hebrew for perfection is shlemut. And the word shlemut is the same root as the word everybody knows that word is shalom. And shalom usually is translated as peace. But shalom means also whole. So in Hebrew, perfection actually is wholeness. And when you are whole, you embrace all of you. When you're whole, you're whole. You're not just partly whole. Right? In the word perfect, we exclude all that is not perfect. You understand that? And so we reach for the thing called perfection that doesn't exist, and we beat ourselves up because we can't find it. Where in Hebrew, the word for perfection actually means wholeness. And wholeness embraces all your darkness with all your light. All of it. What makes you perfect is when you are able to do that. When you know your flaws and say yes and. My house is a mess, yes. And whatever you're going to say next, right? I have a plan. See? And God laughs. Thank you, God. Do you hear what I'm trying to say here? Like it's hard for us. It's hard for all of us to truly realize that this reality isn't what we've been told it is. It's really hard for us to say yes to, I am holy. You are holy. We're all holy. Because if we start to do that, then we have to stop hating people. And that's hard. We want to hate people because that's how we define who we are. We exclude people because that's how we define who we are. It's to what we say no to that makes us who we are. Very interesting, isn't it? But if somebody comes and tells us the light of being is that which is to be found behind every eye, no matter what the face looks like, what the beliefs are behind this, whatever the shape, form, preferences, whatever, everybody's holy. Then you have a problem because it's hard to have enemies. And we love to have enemies. There is a great story in Torah, which is going to lead me to the next song. Wink, wink, nod, nod. The high priest in the temple. There's a whole description of pages and pages of what the high priest was wearing. One of the things we know, it says in the Torah that when the high priest was climbing the stairs in front of everybody to go to the altar, no one was supposed to look under his toga. We know what he was wearing, we don't know what he was not wearing. Okay, put that aside now because I'm talking seriously here. Yes, and part of his headdress was a plate that he wore right on his forehead, right here. Now we have the tefillin in Orthodox Jews put this black box here. The high priest on his big hat had a plate that was engraved. It was a gold plate that was engraved. And it was engraved as if a mirror. So it was engraved backwards. You know what I'm trying to say? You could only read what was written if you looked at it in a mirror. That's what I'm trying to say. And in it were two words in Hebrew, Kodesh Ladonai. And when he met you, and in Israel there's a lot of sun, and the sun reflected upon the plate, right? He wrote on you the reflection of the sun, you know, like you do with your watch when there is some sun. The reflection of the sun printed on you the words correctly. You were the mirror. And Kodesh Ladonai means holy to God. So the priest had this practice built in what he was wearing, that everybody he met, he was to remember this one is holy to God. Every being holy to God, holy to God, holy as God, an expression of the one. That was what was on the... I'm waiting, you know, the attire that the Pope wears is based on the words in the Torah of what the high priests used to wear, including the big hat. Obviously, fashion has evolved. But I'm waiting for the first Pope to actually wear that, to remind him that all that he's looking at, no matter what race, color, language, religion, gender, holy to God. And we should wear that, all of us. So when we look at each other, we see the imprint, Kodesh Ladonai.